go. Well, hello, everybody. It's Adonica. You do you, unfiltered with me. And my guest today, and I love this name. I have a friend whose name is the same, Naomi. No, not Rose, right? Naomi Rose.
It is.
It is.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm talking to her all the way from, where are you from again?
I'm
Somewhere.
in the UK. Yeah.
That's where she's having the most gale winds going on, and she has her woolies on, which I think that's the funniest word ever. But when I talk to a lot of people from that area, that's all they say. We all say a hoodie or a sweater, and they look at me cross-eyed. It's like, what? Hoodie? I don't know. And
Yeah.
then kangaroo shirt. What? We have them, they're hoodies. And then we have people call them kangaroo with the pockets, where you put your hands in the pockets and things. I'm like, okay, let's all
Oh, I
get
love that.
I know, eh? So let's introduce you, because you got a fascinating story and I can't wait to get into it. So Naomi Rose is not just any business strategist or marketing expert. She's your digital GP, as in general practice. I don't know what you
Yeah. So like your general doctor.
not
So
exactly. Well, you're general doctor for digital, though,
yes, I
right?
am. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't ask me about health related questions. I probably won't be able to help.
Put a band-aid on it. Put ice on it. Put a standard.
or just it'll be fine, carry on.
Carry on. Just shake it off like a dog, though. Shake it off like a dog. Yeah, that'd be the funniest part. Is like, that's what I used to say to my kid. Oh God, you just shake it off. Come on. Come on. We all did it as kids too, and fell and scraped our knees and shook it off and continued
Yeah.
playing. But now, holy moly. But okay, so with over 20 years of experience, she has the ability to see the bigger picture, finding solutions to problems that are stopping business owners from growing their businesses in a way they want. Okay, this is a lot going on here, so I'm just going to go to your story, because you've got quite the story. I'm going to turn it over. So let's start, because when I talked to you for the 30 minutes, you told me something that I just thought, I went, holy moly. You are a classically trained cellist, right? Is that
Yeah,
it?
I
Right?
am.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you said it correctly. Yes.
Hey, because you know what? I've been talking to a lot of musicians, and what I know about musicians and what they do now is not musical at all, but it kind of just melds into the business kind of lovely. You know what I mean? You're kind of playing the music with the business, and you have that outgoing personality to be on stage, to talk to people, right? Is that like kind of like
Yeah,
yeah.
I've learned a lot about actually business from playing in orchestras. I'm an orchestral musician, so I play with about four orchestras now. I mean, I play piano as well, but when you grow up playing music and it becomes your life, piano just becomes the other instrument that you learn to play. It's just there, and you get, particularly here in the UK, you get encouraged to learn more than one instrument. So but when you actually look at an orchestra and how they operate and what they do, it is kind of like the ultimate business,
Yeah.
because you've got your person at the front, the one that's waving the stick around, called the conductor, or
Right.
as we know it now, musical director. That's usually their terminology.
Yeah.
But they're the one in charge, and they're the ones that lead. So they're like the CEO of
Yeah.
the orchestra.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the different sections that all have different functions, but they communicate in such a way that when you get together on stage,
Yeah.
you're able to communicate without the power of words. And it's when you actually look at all the details of everything that goes into that, you're like, this is like a symphony of business. It really just shows you how business should operate. And that's what I love about it, because so many of what you have to learn in orchestras and playing with other people are skills that are needed in business. And when you don't have the power of voice as you do in music, as you do in business, you don't have the power of voice in music, well,
Right.
unless you're a singer, of course. You have
Yeah.
to learn how to communicate in different ways.
Right.
And the only way you can do that is by listening, observing, understanding, practicing. Now that's the bit that we always forget in business, that I don't, if you heard some of the first rehearsals I go to, they are just shocking. They are awful. I
Oh,
haven't been able to play the music. But by
right.
the end of it, after weeks of practicing, or sometimes in my case now, it's like a couple of weeks,
Right.
because I go in, do like a couple of rehearsals, and then we go away, do lots of home practice, and then come back again, and then we perform.
Right.
So when you look at it like that, that's exactly what business is doing. It's doing exactly the same thing of rinse and repeat, practice, refine, rinse and repeat, practice, refine, perform,
Right.
review, and do it again. And you're selling tickets. So yeah, I always think there's so much correlation between that kind of world and the world of business.
Well, it's amazing because I've talked to a couple of the musicians, and it's the same thing. They bring it to their business, and when they teach it, it's totally different from coming from school and teaching the basics, because they have that beautiful knack of teaching the, like, because an orchestra will come together and play this beautiful music. So if you put that into your business, they play this beautiful music again, right? It's
Absolutely.
kind of, so was it, oh, so you play the cellist
Yeah.
and the piano. Anything
Yeah.
else you play?
Well, I am actually trained in saxophone as well, but I haven't played that one in a little while.
Okay, so when you're in
But
school, did you have to play the recorder?
I
Like
did
we
play
all,
the recorder.
yeah.
I also played the big recorders as well. So I didn't just play the little ones, I did all the big ones as well. So yes. But I actually, where I started in music was flute. I
Oh,
really I really wanted to be a professional flute player from about the age of 6. And my mum got me a flute, or my mum and my dad got me a flute back then. And there was a school flute teacher.
mhm.
And I think I was about 8 or 9 when she told, and obviously that was my dream. That was going to be my career, because in the world of classical music, particularly, you start at a very young age of working on your
Right.
careers.
Yes.
It's a really young, intensive kind of, a bit like athletics in a way,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you start at a really young age.
Right.
My
Yes.
flute teacher at the time, at age of about 9, told my parents that I would never be a professional flute player because I had teeth that stuck out. And
Oh,
that was her reason for me never to be able to play professionally, which of course is nowhere near true. I played with musicians that are less able-bodied than having teeth that stuck out and are phenomenal. So that goes to show that that is absolutely wrong.
absolutely.
Nonetheless, she got fired because you do not well, who tells a 9-year-old that?
How
That's
can I
ridiculous.
know that? Yes.
It's crazy, right?
Well,
But anyway, so
yeah, and I think of
so my
Freddie
parents
Mercury.
go,
He had Freddie Mercury from Queen. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I know.
I look at him,
Crazy, right?
like seriously, he's saying like an angel. Like seriously, because he could just belt it out. So I don't understand how an adult could say that to a kid. It's just so
No, exactly. But
wow.
in a way, as these things do, it kind of led on to how I ended up playing the cello. And then obviously at the grand old age of 9, you're thinking about your long-term career and your prospects of getting into orchestras and stuff like that. And with flutes, there aren't that many in orchestras, but with cellos, there's a lot more. So actually, cello would be a sensible option because there's probably more chance when you look at the numbers of
Right.
getting into professional orchestras. So
Okay, so
that's
now
how I ended up starting the cello.
okay, so I'm thinking cello, and you say there's how many cellos in an orchestra? Like how many? But
Um, it depends on the type of orchestra, but on average, there's usually about 10.
is that the big one? Like the
That's the double bass, or the contrabass as it's sometimes known as.
okay. I'm thinking cello.
Yeah,
Because I know
yeah,
it comes from the strings. It's a
yeah,
string instrument, and there's a
yeah.
variety of string instruments I didn't even know existed. Like it's crazy, but that's so amazing. So now you play in 4 orchestras, four.
Yeah, yeah, 4.
Wow. And now do you tour with them too? I just want to know. I like,
I would I mean, I would love to, but I just wouldn't have the time to do it. So they're all pretty much local to me. So I play in all sorts where I live. I'm kind of across 2 different counties, so I can get the opportunity to play in both
yeah,
counties.
yeah.
So we do them in different. Like the last concert I did was in a castle. So there we go. I get to play in some pretty cool places.
I know that. And the sound would be so fantastic in a
Phenomenal.
yeah, phenomenal,
Yeah.
because it's just it's built perfectly for concerts, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's
we've got
absolutely
I've got one coming up in 25, which will be in the cathedral. So
oh,
yeah, I
nice.
know, very regal. But
Wow,
yes, I
wow. And
mean, so
then
yeah,
so did your mom and dad know that you're musically, or did you just walk out of your mom's womb and say, "Ta-da, I want to play something"? Like how do they figure out that you
pretty
have
much.
beautiful talent?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the only musician in my family, but my dad was very much a lover of classical music, which I don't know, I'm not actually sure where that really came from, but my grandmother was very much also a lover of classical music. She was very supportive of the arts in general. So it came around from there. But actually, what I didn't know until I was about 18, when I went to university to study music, was that I was actually quite heavily dyslexic.
Oh,
And of course, a lot of creatives
yes.
do go into that industry because they haven't got necessarily the academic
Right.
skills
Yeah.
that they did. And I was still, I had to work really, really hard at school. I found it really, really difficult, really challenging, and I worked really hard.
Mhm.
But obviously, my natural instinct was to go to the creative side because I found it so much easier.
Yeah.
And I think then when I eventually got tested, which they didn't normally do testing in schools, so it was really hard to kind of get that.
Guess
I
it.
think it's about one in three people were actually dyslexic, which is quite shocking when you think about that stat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That
That's a lot.
there wasn't the support there for it then in the same way there is probably a lot more now. But
Yes. Yes, I
yeah,
believe
that's
I don't know about you, but our kids in Canada probably do get tested
yeah.
for that and I know they do with speech impediments as well.
Hmm.
So yeah. So I'm just quick question. Is your Zoom working? Because it's you're very alien. I can hear you, but your picture's not coming through. Is it working?
It should be. It's probably the wind actually. Yeah, so yes, it
That's
is
okay. This
working
is
for me.
this
Yeah.
is it's authentic. People just have to listen then. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So this is great. So now from what I know from your story, you've done the trained classical cellist, you've done that. You go through high school doing that too as well in a musical school, right? Did you go
Yeah,
to a musical
yeah.
school? Absolutely.
I went to I went to musical university, and then I came out of that and thought I don't really want to end up being a music teacher. That's not what I want to do. I want to perform. And I was, again, as people say, I wouldn't have a career in performing because I would need to work a lot harder to get there. That's the kind of, which isn't, again, not necessarily the case. But I thought, well, what are my options here? So I went into do a master's degree in arts management. So the behind the scenes stuff, because so many creatives try really hard to run a successful business out of the arts, and it's well known as the arts being one of the biggest underpaid industries going, and
Right.
it shouldn't be like that because the arts have so many benefits to people
Yes.
and it should be treated like a proper business. So that's why I wanted to get into the management side, because I loved the idea of business, and I loved obviously the creativity of being in the music, being in
Right.
theatre, working in the arts, and being able to blend those two so I could help other artists create successful businesses and get the skills they need to be able to build sustainable ways of living.
Right. Absolutely. Because they perform, they need something else too, don't you think? So if that's
Yeah,
the case, that's fantastic that you do that. And I see your little sign behind you, the NR strategy
yeah.
marketing expert, your digital GP. That's good, cracks me up. 'Cause I'm thinking I'm a doctor of digital. Totally, I'm the
Yeah.
girl that will be going, I have no idea what I'm doing. On my kid on digital everything anything, so that's why I dive into my son's friends that are all business and going into the IT world, which is kind of fun to see, but it's a difficult world. So who's your favorite client? Like what's your client? What are you looking for if someone's going to come to you?
So
Yeah.
I get a lot of people that are in a point of business, and sometimes they're solo entrepreneurs, sometimes they've just got small medium businesses, so they're still kind of quite small,
Yeah.
but they've got to a point where they just don't know what to do next. So you know what it's like when you start a business,
Yeah.
and after a while you're kind of going, this isn't what I signed up for, this isn't what I thought it would
Yeah.
be. But of course when you think about that, you're like, well, I've kind of set myself up here to carry on with this, and I can't necessarily admit that to everybody that I'm actually not enjoying the business I've started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to go back to just throwing it all out the pan and going
Right.
back to working for someone else. So that's where I come in, because I can help people look at where they actually what they want to earn, because
Yeah.
often that's usually
money.
sticking point because the money side of it, because they've started
Mhm.
the business and then all the costs come in and then they realize it maybe isn't as simple as they first thought.
Yeah.
The time,
Yes.
because suddenly your business takes over your life,
Oh, yeah.
or as we've seen quite recently, either the world changes or your priorities change because the world has changed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what you were doing before isn't now working
Right.
because the world is changing and we've got to change with it. So that's where I can come in and really help people, is be able to almost, like I say, see the bigger picture. So like you would go to your doctor when you just don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't specialize in ears, or I don't specialize in like kidneys. I don't specialize in just like social
Or
media or
heart.
website. I
Yeah.
look at how it all fits together to
Okay.
work out exactly where the problems are and find out where they actually want to be, because everybody has different levels of success, whatever that might be. There's no right and wrong when it comes to success, but
Yes.
some people just want to have enough income to be able to live a comfortable life, as well as have a bit more flexibility so they can spend more time at home. Other people want to make
Enjoy
millions.
life and enjoy
It
life.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Just
that's, but exactly. And that's the thing. Business should be fun.
yes.
And I hate the word work. I'm going to work, because it's made to sound like it's
Uh,
something that should be really
it should,
exactly.
it should be an ugh at the end. I'm going to work. Ugh.
Yeah,
Like it's
because
not
that's
like
how
it's
it's.
going to work. I love it. I love it.
No,
I don't. Do you ever come across person? I love going to work. This is part
me
of my
too.
work, but I also have a small business where I love to go to, and I get excited to go to. But 99.999% of the it's like, oh, work.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
I don't want people to have that. I want them to enjoy the money they earn. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the money you earn and enjoying the process of getting there. We
yes.
seem to have made it seem like this thing that we have to work, have
Mhm.
to put in all this effort and dislike, and it
Mhm.
makes us feel just not great. And we
Icky.
spend so much time there, right?
Well, and
So
that's the thing. And that's the thing. And now the one thing too is that the competition, I bet, is huge. And that's what people have think I have to get to work, make the next money. But where do we stop that so they can just go to work and enjoy work? I'm hoping my kid,
yeah.
when he graduates from school, he'll love his work.
Well, and there's also, I think, sometimes this we get caught up on the career ladder where we feel like we need to keep just going up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
When actually, you may be not happy going up and up and up. Not
Right.
everybody is born to lead and manage,
Yes.
and there
Yes.
is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But
Oh,
yet, we're often made to feel like it's the wrong choice to do something we like and stay in the job. I've got friends that have kind of gone up the career ladder and then realize like they don't like where they ended up because they preferred the job that they loved.
yeah, and if that
It's
job
like,
is down here, then that's perfect because I think you have
yeah,
to really be your own advocate to be happy in what you
yeah.
do and your work. And there's people like yourself out there that can help you, like help you.
Well,
Right?
yeah, absolutely. And I think we also, and I talk a lot about money, and because when I've been in business and I started, my first business was a cafe, bar and bakery.
Yes,
I
talk
had
about,
no
okay, let's
idea.
talk about that because that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I had no idea about how the money works behind the scenes. And I mean, I'd done with my master's degree, I'd done bookkeeping, but admittedly, I'd fallen asleep in those lectures because I'm not like it's not my area of expertise. It's not my zone of genius.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I understood it,
Yeah,
but I didn't understand exactly like the questions of how much should I be paying for staff, or how much should I be paying for this, and how does it all balance?
right,
No one really talked about that. And there was always these kind of arbitrary figures that were thrown around on Google that didn't
right,
really make sense. And I think sometimes we can see, going back to the point about success, we can see success in only financial terms.
right,
And I know people that have done very well. They've made millions from their business and they're gone. I don't, for me, I don't know whether I feel like that was the success I really was looking for, whether even though I've achieved so much financially,
right.
that was maybe not the success I thought I wanted. So I think it's really important to understand that success. So
Yeah.
anyway, the cafe and the bar, yeah. So that was quite an interesting journey I went into, really.
Well,
It was.
anytime I was like, I think it's such hard work to own a cafe bar. any kind of in the service industry, isn't it not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. But then when you've worked behind the scenes in theatre,
yeah,
that's equally as hard work. So you want,
everything's
in
work.
the world of festivals and events,
Yeah,
there'll be some, when we're in the thick of a festival, it will
yeah,
be 20-hour days,
right,
and you're on your feet all day. So you get used to, and I
right,
love that kind of vibe and the behind the scenes stuff. That's what I thrived on. You
right.
get all the magic happens behind the scenes. You
Yes,
don't
yes,
get to see all those bits.
yes.
So in a way, that kind of side of it was very similar to how a cafe and bar is run. And yes, it's not for the faint-hearted. And I find it so interesting that so many people come and think, oh, I'll just get this as a second job. It's one of the hardest jobs to do, I think, because you're physically
Yeah,
tired from being on your feet all day,
right.
but you're also dealing with people.
All
So
day, all
all
day.
day. Yeah. And you have to be kind of upbeat and quite bubbly, and obviously you've got to keep on top of everything.
Yeah.
It's a very fast-paced job that needs a lot of energy. And
And so,
people don't realize that. They think it's going to be easy. It
oh
isn't.
God.
It's one of the hardest jobs.
And then you just want to go home and not talk to anybody or serve
No,
anybody.
never. No, yeah, no, literally. Sometimes it would be like toast for tea because that's about as much as I can manage.
I'll like that right now. So
Yeah.
how
Or
long
I'm
did
I'm
you,
so I'm so fed up with food. I don't want to see anymore.
I don't want, yeah. Can you give me something that doesn't look like food? Exactly.
Yeah.
How long did you own your cafe and bar? How long?
5 years. So
Wow.
yeah.
A
Yeah, it was
crazy
a real
amount of time.
adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
And
you're
it
a
was,
musician, bar, cafe bar owner, and now you're doing this beautiful work and being a strategy, a GP, so digital GP.
mm,
Like you just have gone, but you kept it all together, and now you pouring it into this beautiful business that you got because you have that experience behind you, right? To do all.
yeah, absolutely. Well, throughout my career, because of the arts management, I ended up kind of getting into that strategy and marketing and
Oh,
working for large scale corporate charity non-profit organizations
wow.
with, when back in the day when social media didn't really exist in businesses, I was pushing businesses to get on the
Yeah,
social sphere because I could see it was going to change how we marketed. It suddenly went from broadcast advertising, direct mail shots, to
yeah,
this two-way communication
fair. Yeah.
where you couldn't just rely on TripAdvisor for reviews or feedback on by letter or email, which is what we used to get. It became suddenly we had to market in a public space with opinions at the same time. It was completely different tactics for marketers and much more quicker responses. So you had to think in a completely different way. So I kind of went into that, and it was all of that knowledge. And I went in, and by the time I'd left like the corporate and charity sectors to open the cafe, I
Yeah,
was leading digital teams. So my role was really in leadership,
yeah,
which was actually the skills I needed to do the cafe. It wasn't, I just loved to bake. I had no professional skills. I have not trained in any way, shape, or form unless you class going to
yeah,
the school
yeah,
summer camp
yeah.
baking session in like the 90s as training, which
You
I
just
was a
watch,
pro
I
at
watched
making
my mom.
hedgehog rolls.
I
Yeah,
watched my mom.
exactly.
That's all I
Yeah,
had. I love
exactly.
baking.
It was my grandmother. It was my cafe was named after my grandmother because she always
Oh,
wanted a tea room, and she taught me how to bake. And that's where I learned. And I thought, well, if I can learn this and I can just share what I love to do
yeah,
with people, I will make sure that I have a team that can support me to do this job. But
yeah,
I've got the marketing, because actually it doesn't matter if I'm the best baker in the world. If I can't market it and I can't get customers through the door and I don't get the brand right and
yeah,
I don't get the customer experience
yeah,
right, I'm not going to have a business. And
yeah,
they're more important, along with that leadership, than
right.
actually knowing the ins and out of baking. And I
Ah,
didn't even know the menu until about a week before we opened. I had no idea. I
ah,
I didn't realize how much of an operation, right? I thought the menu would be the fun bit. It's
yeah,
not. It's a whole operation. I didn't even appreciate how much work goes into a menu, because it's not just putting the food, actually working out what you're going to serve. It's then how you physically can work the behind the scenes operation to make sure
right,
it's served within a reasonable amount of time, whether you can deliver all the different dishes, whether you got the space and the storage, and
right.
whether like with food, they all have, obviously it has shelf life. So
Yeah.
then you're having to think about stock management of how much wastage are we going to have. So it was, I thought it was going to be like easy. I was wrong on that one. But
Grandma come
again,
in and help? Did grandma come and
yeah.
help?
No, well, she did die quite a few years beforehand for that, which is, but it was her ethos really, because
Yes.
she lived until she was 95, but she was
Whoa.
always, I know, incredible woman, but she was
Yeah.
the most positive woman that you could have. And she actually looked after the elderly until she was 87. So she was older than most of them. But the only reason she stopped was because she lost her sight. So she couldn't actually see properly. But she never stopped baking. She had talking scales that were called Jeeves. She
Uh-huh.
still baked. She still made cake. She still hosted. So I'm like, if that's the attitude that she has about looking for solutions rather than focusing on problems,
Problems. Yeah.
that's the ethos I really want in my cafe and my business.
Yes. And that's
Because
great.
there's always a solution. There's
There's
always a
always
choice.
food.
There's always a solution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I talked to a young man that said the same thing. So you're not the only one that says that, but if we can change that
Yeah,
mindset, there's always a solution to our problems, then I
yeah,
think our world would be a better place. Kind of.
yeah.
We're always looking at the
Well,
problem.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One of
Problem
my
first, solution later. It's
one of my dad's best friend, who sadly who is no longer with us, but he was paralyzed in the 80s from a rugby accident. So he actually lost all sense and feeling from his six vertebrae down.
yeah.
But honestly, he could host the most amazing parties. He did huge amounts of charity events. He had his own business. And he used to get phone calls, and he'd get people ringing up, and he was in a wheelchair and he needed assistance and carers because obviously he couldn't do everything. But they'd often start with, "Can you tell us what you can't do?" And he'd always say, "I'd rather start with what I can do."
Exactly.
And that is exactly that attitude that you need in business. It's like there is always going to be a choice you can make somewhere. There's not going to be a can't, it's going to be a how, or what's the solution, or what are the options. And being a business owner, you get to choose.
Yeah. I love that. So always ask what I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible, very, very, very it just gave me chills, by the way, because I'm such a I like to switch my mindset sometimes, but that is something amazing. Instead of tell me
Mm.
what you can't do, I'll tell you what I
Yeah,
can. That's incredible. That's
exactly.
yeah, and what a great role models you had growing up. Actually,
Oh,
Carolina
incredible.
and
I was
I,
very,
your dad's best friend. You're the best role models coming up. That's incredible. And look what you're
yeah,
doing now. So everything that you've learned, you've absorbed perfectly to start this beautiful business that you have. The digital
yeah.
doctor. I say digital
Yeah,
doctor.
absolutely. Yeah, I
So
feel like I need a stethoscope.
I know, well, kind of like a digital stuff. Let's go. Maybe a little computer whipping around here. I don't know.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. No, I need something
That's
like that, or like an Ethernet cable or something.
I think, yeah, maybe a cord, like a cable cord, or a modem. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Oh
So I
yeah,
was,
I could go.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say I could go really old school and something really retro.
Yeah, go back to the 80s where we had the pagers going off. And oh, I remember those days.
I love my pager. I
You
love my
love your
pager.
pager. Oh God.
Oh yeah.
I remember I had the flip phone. Like I remember my
Oh,
husband's a
you were
dentist.
so cool.
I was cool, but I was like, what? Well, I don't even know what I'm doing. But my husband's a dentist, so I remember when we've been married 27 years coming up. So he had a
Yeah.
pager. So and it was like we didn't have phones right back then. And then when the flip phone came out, it was like, oh, that's so cool. I was like,
Yeah.
but it was like you were like it was so tiny and you couldn't take pictures and you're like, actually, no, that's a lie. That the big phone,
Oh, the big
the one we
ones.
start the
Yeah.
big ones. I had a big
Yeah.
one. Didn't even fit anywhere, like in a pocket somewhere or a purse. And then the flip phones came out. I was like, whoa, I got a flip phone. But now
Yeah.
look at what's happened, and we can do everything off our phones. But it still scares me. I don't
It
know.
does.
Maybe a little bit old school, but it's still a little bit of a scary. So let's go to you love fitness. I love it.
Hmm.
You own a mad spaniel and two crazy cats. Tell us about
I
those.
do.
Okay, what's a mad spaniel? Is that just his it's like is he mad?
Oh, we're in dog behavior training at the moment. That's
Oh,
that's how mad it is, right?
is he a
Yeah,
puppy?
no,
Oh,
no, 3.5.
okay.
No, yeah, I had my previous dog, that I've always had Cocker Spaniels, but my previous dog was more cat than dog. I mean, to get her to go for a walk would be like sitting, she would sit on the pavement and refuse to move.
Oh, I know.
And I'll be like dragging her. Whereas this one is the opposite. It's like completely like just runs riot, and
Yeah.
she is incredibly intelligent. She has, I probably in a different life, she would be a very well trained medical dog or a sniffer dog or something like that.
Yeah.
But yes, we even 3.5 years on, we've still not nailed the training side of it.
See, I have a cat that would love to is a dog. She likes to go on walks, likes to go outside. She meows at me when she wants a treat, or she's ticked at me, or bites me when she's mad at me. Like she's a dog. I'm like, hey. And then you have two crazy cats. What are they like? I like to know. I love animals.
Oh, well, I've got one cat is now 9. She's actually got we they're both rescue cat. One's I only rescued about 5 weeks ago, who's like been here about 4 years in his view. He's completely settled in, no problems whatsoever. My older cat she has got 2 eyes, but one eye doesn't work. So she basically, when they found her on the street, it got a really bad infection.
Oh,
It seriously doesn't stop her though. She's called Nutmeg, so we call her the Nuts.
her name's Nutmeg. I
Yeah.
love it. I love
That was a name. That was a name it was given. She was given when she was rescued. So we thought actually that really suits her. And yes, my other cat, we call him Pately because he was found in Pately,
it.
when they
Oh,
rescued him, and he's about 18 months old. So
just
he
little.
sadly came from a bit of a sad household, but you wouldn't know that. And I live in the rural countryside of the hills of England, so he absolutely loves it here. So he likes to bring presents and put them in his food bowl for us. So I'm like, great, at least it's in your food bowl.
Oh, so he's a hunter. He comes back with
He's
those
a hunter.
or
He
bird.
like yeah, he loves to I love to hunt. Yeah, not to my Nutmeg doesn't.
Yeah,
She catches leaves. That's her extent. But
that's
yeah.
pretty much what my cat does. Give her
Yeah.
get the fly, and she's like, oh, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
lets it
exactly.
watches it walk away, and then looks at it, plays with it. Then I have to get it because she won't
Yeah.
kill it. Like she's like, are you kidding me? My cat's name is Lulu, and I call her lunatic.
Oh.
Cuckoo. She's like, she has zoomies like dogs have zoomies. And I'm like, are you run around my house? Like, but we have hardware. So when they do that, it's so funny to
Oh,
listen.
it's hilarious.
It's so crazy. But cats and dogs are really good for everybody that has them. And she's a rescue too as well. I love rescuing animals.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
me too.
my son is becoming a vet. So yes, down in
Oh,
school.
amazing.
Yeah. So I'm excited for him. Okay, so okay, tell me about your motorbike, man. Because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
against motorbikes, and we have one in my garage my husband got. I'm like, oh, buddy, are you a street motorbiker or do you go dirt biking? That's what I
Oh
wanted.
no, I'm not a fan of the mud. I am definitely, well, I call myself the cream tea cruiser now
The
because I
cream
actually,
tea.
yeah, so in England we have like afternoon tea. So I like to go for a loo, a brew, and a view, as we
On your
call
bike,
it.
on your
Yeah,
motorbike. That is
yeah. Well,
so cool.
it was after I've been married to my husband now for nearly 15 years in
Yeah,
next week,
yeah.
and
Have
when
you
just
ever?
after we got married, he
Yeah,
was like, I think I'm gonna let his brothers both ride, and
yeah.
his brother started getting back into bikes again, and he said to me, oh well, I think I might learn to ride. Well, I'm like, well, if you're going to learn to ride, I'm going to learn to ride. So I did, and actually it was such a scary process learning to ride. And what was weird was I couldn't get used to not having a seatbelt on. That was the weirdest thing because
That
obviously in the
makes
car
sense. Yeah,
you've got that protection.
yeah.
But I'm so glad I pushed myself out of that comfort zone because actually I worked in the middle of a city, and what was a 3 hour round trip bus journey turned into 20 minutes each way.
On your bike.
So on my bike, yeah, and I got into work no matter what. It was brilliant, and I'm so glad I did it. It's something now we got a beautiful countryside here to
Yeah,
ride bikes in.
ride bikes
We
and
can go, yeah. So we did go out and cream tea cruise now because I work from home, so my commute is much shorter.
right. So I'm just, do you
But
have a gang, a bike gang that does that?
No, well, my husband does go away with the boys. They go off. Like they went off to into Europe, so they did about 2,000 miles a couple of months ago.
Whoa.
So they go and do like big trips, whereas I'm like, I would rather just go and have a nice afternoon tea
Nice.
somewhere and come
Go
back
see a
again. So
friend on your bike. Just pull up.
yeah, just it's usually just sometimes our friends come up and stay. My sister actually rides as well, so she actually learned to ride back in her team. She's 20 years. Both my brother and sister are 20 years older than me, and they both ride.
Wow.
And when she stopped riding when she got pregnant with my niece,
Yeah.
which was let me try and think, 27 years ago now.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
28 years ago, because my niece is 27. And 2 or 3 years ago, when I was just in the process of changing my current bike, she rang me and said, I think I really want to get back into biking. So we
Oh,
went bike shopping together. So
gonna do
she
for
loves it. But
myself.
she doesn't. Yeah, so she's just meets up with a lot of her old friends and does bike meets and all that sort of thing. And she absolutely loves it. And her partner now, he also rides. So it's great.
Oh,
They go out on the bike. He goes on the back of her bike with her. She rides. He's on the back.
oh,
Amazing.
I love it. I love. I was like, I just have to say that the only thing I do not like, I would think about doing it. It's just the other drivers. I don't trust anyone else. I trust my
Oh
husband.
gosh, no.
I thought that's the key here.
You have to have.
It's
Yeah. We
the
have the rule of if you're too tired, don't do it. If you're
well,
too
and then
tired, don't ride
yeah,
it.
my husband rode his bike out here from where I live in Edmonton. It took him 9 hours. So he went with a friend, who's a big rider. And him and his wife have both bikes and they do across Canada. But he stops every hour. So it was kind of nice to know that he could stop every hour and then I knew he was safe. But I was like, okay, I need to follow you on my phone, which I couldn't do with a flip phone. Or
No,
so I
no,
did.
that's very
Now
true. No.
that's crazy. I love it. I love it. You're like a badass. Just kidding. Okay, everybody, she's a digital doctor and she's a motorbike badass. I'm just saying, rider. Okay, well, I wanted to ask you about your quirky thing because I was reading it and going, really? Okay, so this is gonna sound really weird. This is what you wrote. This is gonna sound really weird, but all the towels in my house have to hang a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I want to know how they hang. How do they?
Well, it depends which town, of course. It
Oh, really?
varies from towns.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm very specific. It's really my husband thinks this is just so weird. It is really weird. The listeners will think this is odd as well, but obviously labels have to be at the back. You can't
Oh,
have labels at the
yes,
front.
gotcha.
Obviously, that's just a given, right? They all have to be straight. There is a straightness rule, but I think my mum has actually been known to go around the house and correct when she's staying here how she's hung the towels because I've mentioned about my towel hanging. Some towels have to be folded in a certain way, but the only reason is, and this is the daft reason, if anyone ever breaks into my house, I don't want to think I've got untidy towels. That is it.
The whole other part of the house can be messy, but the towels have to be right.
Yeah. I want them to know,
That
oh yeah,
is so
she's has
funny.
attention to detail when it comes to her towels.
I know, apparently. I'm with you on folding towels. If you don't fold my towels right, I
No,
don't care how they
no.
go on the rack, but they must be folded because when I put them on the rack, I have a sequence where I really don't have to do the fold again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
and my husband's
absolutely.
looking at me going, "Are you kidding me?" So no one's allowed, everyone can fold everything else in my house, but not towels.
Yeah.
Because I
My
need
I had an old boss actually he came up with the most amazing phrases. He was just such a wordsmith. He just came up with the things. And one of the things he always said was, you've got to have a tea towel in the ironing for a bit of square pleasure.
oh, oh, oh
Yeah.
wow.
And it's so true. Actually,
Okay.
you have a little bit of an iron of a tea towel in the middle of doing all of those clothes sometimes. You're like, oh, this is actually really nice.
I
Nice
know.
bit of square pleasure there, right there.
I like that. I like that. This has been so much fun talking to you. I love it. So I'm gonna say that we're gonna add all your social media. You're hilarious. We have to revisit this because it'll be fun. But remember, Naomi, what you do. Tell everyone again what you do because you're a doctor, kind of.
I am a doctor. Yeah, I'm the digital GP. So if you have a problem with your business, come to me and I'll find you the perfect remedy to solve your problems.
There you go. and no, I'm just kidding. And thank you for joining me today. And if everybody wants to visit Naomi, absolutely, her links will be with us. And it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Absolute
Oh,
pleasure.
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So have a wonderful, wait a minute, night. And by the way, people, at the beginning of the video, she had gale force winds going outside. So it's better now, actually. So it must have
Yeah.
calmed.
It,
I know how the
it
weather.
has the sun has even come out. So, that's
You
there we
just
go.
all of a sudden you've glowed again. So like all of a sudden, so the sun's out. So at the beginning of the video, it's kind of I could hear you, but your picture was done. But now your picture's working, so it's perfect. Meant to be. So have a
Always.
wonderful evening, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.